Well, this right here is the Beyond Power Voltra 1. And after using it consistently for the last 3 months, I can honestly say that it has changed the way that I utilize my home gym. If you're limited on space, training solo, or just want something that actually feels like a commercial gym, a full-size rack or selectorized machines, this is probably one of the most interesting piece of fitness tech that's hit the market in the last couple of years. In this video, I'll break down what it is, how it works, who it's for, who it's not for, and if the pretty hefty price is actually worth it. For context, in the last year, I've built out a pretty decent garage gym. And like many people, my garage gym is pretty limited on space. I really wanted a cable machine with a full stack of weights. However, the space that I had available just wouldn't account for it. When I started looking at cable options, there were a couple low row and lat pull down attachments for my Titan rack. However, it just wasn't giving me all the functionality that I really needed. When the team at Beyond Power reached out and asked if I was interested in doing a review of their Voltra, I kind of jumped at the idea because it really just filled a void that I had in my home gym. So the company Beyond Power is pretty new in the game. A lot of their employees came from the company DJI. If you're not familiar with DJI, they're big in like the filmmaking YouTube space. In fact, this microphone is a DJI microphone that I'm using right now. A lot of the engineers moved over, and so a lot of the functionality of the Beyond Power Voltra is very similar to DJI products if you used them before. So instead of using weight plates or stacks, it uses motor-driven resistance systems that adjust instantly. It can be used mounted, used freestanding, or even attached to a squat rack like I have here. You can control everything through their Beyond Plus app, the reps, the tempo, the time between sets, and even eccentric overload, which I'll talk about here in a second. The resistance modes is really where the magic happens with this thing. This is where the Voltra separates itself from literally everything else on the market. First, you have standard mode. This feels like traditional cable resistance. It's smooth, it's consistent tension throughout the full range of motion. Then you have eccentric mode. This lets you overload the negative portion of the lift, something you cannot safely do with free weights alone. Then you have ISO Connect mode. This is cool because the resistance adapts to you in real time. The harder you pull, the more it pushes you back. It's incredibly joint friendly and perfect for accessory work or deload days. Now in actual use, the Voltra feels insanely smooth. No weight stack slams, no momentum cheating. It shines most for accessory movements, unilateral work, and days where you want high stimulus without beating up your joints. Now you can see here, my gym is not huge. I think I have like 40 square feet I'm working with. Just enough to fit a squat rack, and that's about it. So space was one of the biggest things I was thinking about when I was building this home gym, and that was the biggest win. I don't have to deal with any weight stacks or loading any plates. It just sits on the rack, and I get 200 pounds of resistance off of that tiny 13-pound machine. Changing resistance on this thing takes literally seconds. Tracking your weights is built into the app. There's even Apple Health Kit. One of the coolest things about this device is since I've had it, which has only been about 3 months, I think I've seen it update firmware about 5 times. They're constantly pushing new firmware out to this thing, which tells me that the developers and the engineers at Beyond Power really care about this device and they really want to consistently see this thing get better. This feels like a fitness tech product and not just gym equipment. Now, the one thing I will say is the Voltra is essentially useless without buying one of their mounts. In fact, it will not attach to anything without one of their mounts. I've got a couple of them here. This is the rack mount. In fact, let me take it off here. You can kind of hear it. I don't know if you could hear that, but you can kind of hear it snap on and snap off. But this is the Beyond Power rack mount. It's essentially built for a rack, so you can loosen it up, drop it down, lock it in, tighten it back up. Oh, back. There you go. And you can kind of hear it. Let's see if you can hear this thing click in here. It's kind of cool. The motors literally like attach onto it, which is pretty sweet. The cool thing I like about this mount specifically is that this has kind of a rotating arm. This is kind of an attachment onto their other mount that kind of twists a little bit. I also have a lat pull down mount here that you can see. And I have one other mount that's super special. I'll show you it here. This is kind of a pin mount. Now, this is the one I move around quite often, and you can kind of see the grooves in which this thing kind of connects in there and how it functions. But this one is from Darko Lifting. You can kind of see the Darko. If you're not familiar with Darko Lifting, check him out on Instagram. He's got some really cool stuff. But this has been my favorite of all of the mounts because I just kind of move it around, attach it where I need it, and utilize it. The rest of these are a little bit clunky to move around, so I don't move around that much. I usually leave this one at the top, do some pulls and stuff with that, and then I move this one around when I want to do rows or leg extension, leg curls, things like that. All right, it's a little hard to record the screen with a camera. However, I wanted to walk you guys through a little bit of this functionality. You have 3 options here: weight training, resistance band, and damper. Weight training is essentially what you would think it would be. It's the one I've mostly used, but you tap and you load your weights, and then you pull it, and there's 20 pounds of resistance right there. You can go and kind of drag the dial and add more weight. You can also hit the +5 or -5 to get more weight as you go. There's a few options down here at the bottom. You can look at your metrics, your peak power, your peak velocity, your mean velocity, or your cable velocity. So if you grab peak velocity, you can see how many watts you're pulling with each set. You can go to your velocity, same thing. You can see how much power you're pulling for each one. This is probably my favorite mode, is the eccentric. And so right now it's set to, when I pull this, it's 5 pounds. But if I add, let's go to 10. So now when I pull it out, it'll be 5 pounds, but when I come back, it'll be 15. And then it goes back to 5, and then it goes to 15. That has honestly been my favorite thing about this device. Out of here, you also have resistance bands. You can choose what kind of resistance bands. I don't use this that often, but I do find it great for like a warm-up in the morning if I want to rotate my wrists or something like that. And then you have your damper setting. A lot of people have been using this on like a treadmill or some kind of cardio, just to kind of add a little resistance to that cardio that you're doing. Down here, there's a couple testing things you can do. You can do rowing, custom curves, isometric testing, or isokinetic testing. I haven't dug into those too much, but there's a lot of documentation online if you're interested in those things. And then over here you have settings where you can adjust kind of the settings of the device, connect it to Wi-Fi, download firmware, things like that. You also have a lot of your safety, your cable. So if you need to essentially replace the cable, it'll give you a little diagram of when you should replace your cable. This is telling me that my cable's at about 90% health, which is super cool that it automatically knows that. There is a twin mode. I do know that this is new. If you have 2 of these and you want to do kind of a dual cable cross, you can link these together over Wi-Fi. So when you load weight on one, it automatically loads the same weight on the other. And then back here at the home screen, you have your battery. The cool thing about this is it charges with USB-C. It charges pretty quick. I get about 2 weeks worth of training before I need to charge it. Now, I did write down a few pros and cons to this device in the last 3 months that I've been using it. First off, some pros. I mean, look how extremely compact it is. That's 200 pounds of resistance right there, and it's taking up no space in my garage. It weighs like 13 pounds. When I don't want it, I just go throw it out of the way. I don't have to worry about my kids like playing around weight stacks or anything like that. This thing has smooth and intelligent resistance. I can't really explain over video how smooth the resistance is, but let me tell you, if you have a chance to utilize one of these things, you'll realize how smooth it really is. The eccentric and adaptive modes built into it are kind of one of a kind. You can't get that anywhere else. It's great for solo training. In fact, if it starts to detect you having trouble with the weights, it'll literally deload some of the weights for you in the middle of the exercise. So that way you can complete your rep without you injuring yourself or the device. And it's a perfect complement to a home gym. Like literally, I have a couple barbells, I have some plates, I have a set of selectorized dumbbells, and I have the Voltra, and that's it. That's my entire home gym. That's like all I really need. Now, there are a few cons to this thing. It is freaking expensive. It is like $2,200, and that's before you buy any mount, which you have to buy a mount in order to make this thing work. You have to buy one of their mounts too. My one thing I will say about a high price though, is if you do get a cable machine, by the time you buy a standalone cable machine or even an add-on and you get the plates and everything, you're probably looking at anywhere between $1,200 to $1,500, even $2,000. So this device may not be far off from a normal cable machine. Now, a plate-loaded machine might be quite a bit cheaper. However, you're not going to get the same quality that you're going to get from a selectorized machine or even something like the Voltra. The only other con I can kind of think of is it's kind of like a computer or like a smartphone, which those things never really last. And my garage gets really hot in the summertime. I live in Central California. This garage will get like 114 maybe even 120 degrees in the summer. And so I don't know how long this thing's really going to last in the heat, in the cold. It's kind of a little bit of an unknown. It's still a new device. I haven't seen a bunch online about them dying, but it only has a 1-year warranty, which kind of raises a little bit of an eyebrow for me when it comes to a device like this that just has a lot of unknowns and with technology. So who is the Voltra really for? If you train at home by yourself and you're concerned a little bit about safety, then this might be the device for you. The safety mechanisms built into it, honestly, are next level, and they work super well. If you care about longevity and joint health, this could be for you as well. I know there's a lot of physical therapists that have been buying these and using them in their PT practice. If you want commercial gym quality cable resistance without having to buy a commercial gym quality machine, this could be your thing as well. If you're enjoying this like kind of tech-driven ecosystem into the home gym market, this is probably for you. The Voltra hasn't really replaced any part of my home gym. However, it's been a great smart addition to my training. If you're building a home gym and you want something that grows with your training, this is probably the thing. There's a Reddit forum out there where people are constantly finding new ways to utilize these Voltras, and it shocks me every day the things I see on there. If you have any Voltra questions or home gym questions, drop them below. I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching this. See ya.